GOP lawmakers like Senator Kennedy are attempting now to launder those lies by claiming that things such as a 2016 op-ed written by a Ukrainian official critical of President Trump are the evidence of Ukrainian election interference. That is simply not comparable to Russia intentionally meddling in our elections, and by the way, is not the basis of Trump's conspiracy theories. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave our country? Russia, you should know, is already interfering in the 2020 election by, among many other things, amplifying comments of Republican lawmakers like Kennedy's pushing claims of Ukrainian, not Russian interference. So why should Senator Kennedy's conflicting comments trouble all of us? I've spoken to several current and former intelligence officials, law enforcement officials, as well as lawmakers in both parties. I asked them, the 2020 election is safe from interference by Russia and others today, and all of them have said no.
Jim, thank you very much for all of that explanation and explaining how we got here. We will dive more into Senator Kennedy's comments and what he says he's basing them on coming up in the program. Meanwhile, the president heads to London this morning for the NATO summit as some key allies give him the cold shoulder. So we have a preview of what to expect next.
This is the story of our amazing planet.
But the ending is uncertain.
The scales are tipping, and not in our favor. We must find a blueprint for a sustainable future.
Call to Earth. A breakthrough CNN and Rolex partnership.
We have to find new ways to reduce the impact of our daily lives. It's going to take all of us working together.
And here at CNN, we're committed. We will start and engage global conversations, help empower communities to create solutions and inspire change.
This is CNN's Call to Earth.
This is my call to Earth. What's yours?
Going Green is teaching inspiration for a better tomorrow. A water robot waging war on waste.
I'm not going to give up until there's no litter left in the oceans.
And while one man uses his cool to take the heat off,
I think every architect should think about environment before they make anything.
another tries to change how people move around. Going Green, Saturday on CNN, in association with Kirloskar, enriching lives. All new inside Africa. Unlocking the mysteries behind the continent you thought you knew. The mysterious disappearance of the great white sharks and the quest to find them.
They've become a part of my soul. I feel I need to do everything I can to save these animals.
Inside Africa, Tuesday on CNN, in association with Zenith Bank.
This is the 100 Club, our look at companies that are 100 years old or older. While production began on the Hershey bar in 1900, another quintessential company treat didn't make its debut until 7 years later, in 1907.
So in 1907, Milton Hershey launches a new product, Hershey's Kisses. So they're just little conical pieces of solid milk chocolate. Just pop it in your mouth. At the time, the word kisses was a general confectionery term for any bite-sized piece of candy.
The demand for these foil-wrapped treats hasn't waned since. 15.1 billion kisses are made every year worldwide, and they're still one of the primary chocolates made at the company's headquarters in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The factory here makes 72 million kisses a day.
We live in an unpredictable environment. My show brings you the latest news and top news makers. We also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
Amanpour, only on CNN. Saturday on CNN.
At CNN, we see the devastation caused by natural disasters, famine, and war. We also see how the generosity of others can change lives. You and CNN's Impact Your World can help. Reputable charities that are checked out by CNN. See the difference it makes when you give time, share stories, or donate. By just clicking the button, be a part of the solution. Impact Your World.
I'm Sam Kiley in Baghdad, and this is CNN.
In a few hours, President Trump and the First Lady head to London for a summit marking NATO's 70th anniversary. But there are reports that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants President Trump to stay away days before the UK's general elections. CNN's Max Foster is live in London with a preview. So what's this about, Max?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because normally a host leader would automatically request and be granted a bilateral with the visiting US president, but not the case this time. And I think the reality here is that we're in the middle of a general election campaign. Donald Trump is a divisive figure. Boris Johnson has a lead in the polls, and they don't want to risk that in any way by associating with Donald Trump, who may embarrass Boris Johnson. Officially, though, Downing Street really just saying this is about the election. We don't want to take advantage of visiting leaders, so that's why we're not having this bilateral. The White House, though, open to the opportunity of a bilateral, we're told. They're much more focused, though, on many of the issues that will be coming up at NATO. This is meant to be a celebration of 70 years of this great alliance, but actually lots of splits forming. So Donald Trump and the US, very big on the China angle, Chinese influence around the world, particularly in the 5G networks, around how the organization is funded. Meanwhile, Macron of France really pushing this idea that Turkey shouldn't have invaded Syria as a NATO member. Also, President Macron very keen on rethinking the whole idea of NATO as well. So there are going to be lots of splits appearing, Alison. I also think the other element that will probably come up on the agenda is ISIS off the back of this terror attack in London last week.
Let's talk about that, Max, because of course this is right in the aftermath of the terror attack at London Bridge. And so what is Prime Minister Johnson, how's he dealing with all that?
Well, both he and opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn have suspended campaigning this morning. They were at a vigil honouring the two main victims, Jack Merritt and Saskia Jones. So there they are at that vigil. That was just a few minutes ago. They were stabbed to death by Osman Khan. He had been jailed in 2012 for his role in the plot to attack the London Stock Exchange, but his release after 8 years, after serving only half of his time. We've now got this review of sentencing. It's become a political issue. Just listen to Boris Johnson yesterday.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's